Hello and welcome to the CleanSlate theme development tutorial series. My name is Adam, and today we're going to talk about custom site data. In our last video, we talked about how to use custom page data. Custom page data is localized on a per page basis, meaning if you enter content into the page properties and then custom data tab on a page, it is only available for that page. Now, custom site data, on the other hand, is data that you want available across all pages of your site. It is in the global scope and it is available for every single page on your site. In this video, we're going to look at how to set up custom site data so that you can use it in your site. So the first step to do is to look in your site's config.yml file. There might already be a custom site attributes key there and then some text under it. If I switch over to my config.yml file, you'll notice that I already have my custom site attributes key, and I have created a couple fields here for our custom site data attributes. So since we have these two created, I just want to point out again, make sure that you are 2 spaces from the left. You're indented from your custom site data attributes key, and you have a dash and then a space. And you want to use underscores, not spaces, not dashes or minus signs. You can use camel case, so you could have a custom site data attribute like that. But keep that in mind when you're creating your custom data attributes. So now that these two custom site data attributes are created, let's look at what that looks like in the CleanSlate admin UI. I've gone ahead and logged into CleanSlate. I'm on this DIY outdoor site, and if I click Manage Settings and then I go over to this Data tab, you'll notice that both of these custom site data attributes exist right here. So for example, this says Google Site Verification. When I add that to my config.yml file, it's going to show up right here. Similarly, for this nav depth region right here, this nav depth custom data site attribute, that is defined in your config.yml right here, and this is what it looks like on manage settings data inside CleanSlate. I will make a quick note that you do need to indeed be an administrator in order to see the manage panel here, and if you are unable to see that, you should talk to either University Relations Digital or your college's Prof Tech to see if you can get access to this manage settings data tab. So now that we've looked at how to create custom site data attributes in your config.yml file and what they look like in the CleanSlate admin UI, let's look at how to actually implement these for something useful in our site. So you'll notice over here this Google Site Verification field. This is actually stemming from the Google Search Console. It's to help you monitor, maintain, and troubleshoot your site's presence in Google search results. One of the ways that they verify the ownership of your site is to add a meta tag to your site's head. All right, so if I switch over to my theme right here, you'll notice that this is the meta tag that you would get from Google. And if I separate this on a couple different lines, basically the meta tag stays the same up until this content right here, and then they give you this string. So what they do is they actually ask us to put in this meta tag with this crazy alphanumeric string into our site's head. And what we can do is, instead of having to insert this meta tag uniquely for every site and have someone manually do that, we can kind of enable our content authors to just be able to paste this string right here into the Google Site Verification field right here and hit save, and that would populate it into their head. So let's look at how to do that. So I'm going to switch back over. This is our Google Site Verification tag. I'm going to go to our default.html layout. And if you're a little confused at this point, check out my previous video on layouts in CleanSlate. And we're going to look at line 8 right here. Line 8 has this Google Site Verification tag, and it's got content. And then right here, it has this our site data name Google Site Verification. So this tag right here, as we see in the documentation, is how to consume the data that we put inside of our Manage Settings data tab. Okay, so it's going to take the code that we have inside this Google site verification and insert it into the content attribute of this meta tag right here. All right, so basically if you want to create custom site data, the first step is to create your custom site data attribute here, making sure to use 2 spaces, either underscores or camel case, and then you would take your rsite data tag and insert it where you want the custom site data to appear, and then you would save that, push it to the repository, sync your theme, then the field will show up here. You would paste in the content that you want and hit save, and there it would be done. Everything, in this case, the Google Search Console can verify because the meta tag is being output into your site's head. So that's how to hook up the Google Search Console. Let's look at how to implement this for our nav depth attribute. So you might be asking, well, how does this even work? We have a rsite menu tag. Remember, this is the tag that outputs the main navigation on your site, so the top level navigation, and you can specify a max depth for this tag. So if you have, a first level, a second level, a third level, you can specify an integer right here, like 1, 2, or 3, or whatever. We can also specify a variable right here, and then this variable, since it's already in an r:\whatever tag, will get hoisted to both our custom page data and our custom site data. So since we have defined nav depth in our custom site data, we can essentially define that right here. So we could say, I only want a nav depth of 1 level deep, which is the top level of our site. Or I could say nav depth of 2, which is the first and second levels. So it's going to output navigation at the first and second levels. So using custom site data here and a variable, we can essentially specify how deep we want our nav to go, if we want it just at the top level or the second level. And again, all we need to do that is to define the nav depth in the custom site data attributes inside your config.yml. So here's that nav depth custom site data attribute defined. We have then created a variable for our rsite menu tag that's called nav depth, and then we are basically inside our site's manage settings data tab and defining our nav depth here and hitting save. So you may be asking yourself, okay, so this is how I do it inside CleanSlate in production. How do I set this up in my mock data file? So I actually have this set up inside of brand patterns right now. I'm on the backpage template, and I have this little section of code right here as a tribute to the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, which says, the ultimate question of life, the universe, and everything. And obviously right here, we want to specify 42 because that is the answer to the ultimate question of life, the universe, and everything. By default, if you do not have a tag defined, Hammer will tell you missing key Hitchhiker's Guide under our site data in your mockdata.yml file. So if I go over to my theme, this is the code. So right here, this section tag, it's got a paragraph with the ultimate question of life, the universe, and everything, and then it's got this on another line right here, it's got this our site data tag right here. So it's essentially saying we need to define a value for this. So if I go over to my mock data file, I've found my site key right here. Up above here, there's an editable region key and a bunch of other keys. This is the page key, but right here's the site key, so site : and then there's a data : key, and then we have a couple of other things right here, right? So this is our Google site verification. So if you were running your site locally and you wanted to make sure it output the right verification content, you could put that meta tag content right in this inside these quotation marks. Similarly, if you have a nav depth and you want to show 1 or 2, you can output that right here. I have gone ahead and created our custom site data attribute right here for the Hitchhiker's Guide custom site data attribute, and I've set it to 42. So I can go ahead and hit save, and we can go back to our site, hit refresh, and that error disappears right there. So right there it says 42. It's being pulled from this custom site data name called Hitchhiker's Guide which is then being consumed inside our section tag inside the default layout right here. So that about covers how to create custom site data attributes. Remember, the first step is to define the custom site attribute inside your theme's config.yml file. The second step would be to define a place to consume it, either via the rSiteData tag or a variable. And then the third step would be to enter the data inside your site's Manage Settings Data tab. And again, you can find these docs on the CleanSlate CMS help site. Go to How To's and Tips, Theme Development, and then click on Custom Data, and you can scroll down and see how to use custom site data attributes. This is the documentation for custom site data attributes. In the next video, we're going to talk about advanced custom page attributes. And I want to point out that custom site data attributes cannot be advanced, so we'll learn more about what that means in the future, but it's suffice to say that for custom site attributes, you will only be able to have a key and a text field. There's not going to be anything like a checkbox or anything like that. But we're going to learn about advanced custom data in the next video, so stay tuned.